because I know sometimes I have to mind my mouth a little bit. So anyway, so it's January 30th, and this is our third week of class, if you can imagine. So I'm really happy to see you guys here. As soon as we are done tonight, I will process this video and make sure that it's posted to our Moodle page. But some of the things I wanted to talk to you about before and I also want to take questions, but I wanted to let you know that I graded all of your introduction papers, and really you all did just a very nice job. Everybody had submitted, and everything looks really good, and I'm just very excited because this group has an amazing breadth of experience. So I'm really excited to read what papers are going to come from these introductions. Now I'm hopeful, and it's a very efficient way to do the class if this introduction becomes your final paper. And from what I've read, that should work for everybody. When we start next week, we're going to talk a little bit about doing research. So right now we've told our personal stories, and next week I'm going to show you some techniques about how to find journal articles and textbooks and so forth. And we're only going to have to look for 5 sources. So it's not like, 7,000 or anything like that. And then we'll write an annotated bibliography about 3. But so you may find yourself, as you're researching, maybe focusing in a certain area or going broader in a certain area, but the basic material that you have presented is really, really good. So one of the students had asked me if he could tune it up a little bit. He didn't like some of the grammar and some of the punctuation and just sort of the English stuff. And of course, that is absolutely fine. Now, when you take a look at we haven't done the quiz yet. That will be coming this week, which we'll talk about that in a minute. But when you take a look at your writing assignment, it's my hope that you can all see the comments that I've left for you. So if you look at your submission, if you go into the grade book, and let's see, I don't want to pull it up because I started getting people's names and then we get into some privacy issues. But when you go into the grade book and you pull up your grade for this assignment, at the bottom, there's a slot that says comments. And so if you are not able to see the comments, please let me know, because that's just a way that I have of communicating with you and keeping the conversation going. So just make sure that we're good there. Now, aside from that, I have not graded the discussion board this week. I've looked at a lot of your comments, and some of the stuff is really insightful, and I've really seen more about deep survival than I had known in the past, or that I'd really thought about. So it was really interesting to get different people's perspectives on that. But I will be grading that tomorrow. When I grade the discussion forums, I like to think of them as a conversation among the whole class. So it's easier for me to do that when everybody's had a chance to make their comments, because then I can kind of see it as a whole thing instead of just a response and another response and so forth. So that's where I'm headed with that. And then I did record the lecture for this week, which is about danger, risk, and opportunity. And I have lecture notes for that lecture. So a good thing to do would be to listen to the lecture or watch the lecture and pull the lecture notes up, because they go together. So if you can do those 2 things at the same time, you'll save yourself some time in the long run. And then the last piece of information I wanted to say, there's some really funky articles this week. I really had a lot of fun with this. But before I do that, I want to talk about the writing assignment this week, which is that quiz about deep survival. It is not a timed or proctored quiz, so you just do it on your own. But right above the quiz submission button is a discussion guide, and there are several questions there, and I believe I've asked you to choose 3 of them. Totally up to you what you choose, and just write a well-constructed paragraph or 2 about each question that you choose. So if you missed a section or you thought one section was boring or something, you can avoid it and you don't have to write about it. So there we go. Then the last thing is when we start looking forward and we're talking about what's going to happen this week. Like I said, I've got the lecture posted that I did yesterday, and the reading assignment, there's 4 reading assignments, but they're very short. I'm not sure how many of you know about this, but back in the 1970s, there was a problem with Ford Pintos, which they exploded when they were impacted in the back, which is not a good thing. And I was able to find the original Ford Pinto memo, which was really funny because it's written on a typewriter, which is just weird anyway. But having something that's written on a typewriter is just sort of a weird thing to look at. And anyway, so you can see the elegant title: fatalities associated with crash-induced fuel leakage and fires. And then this really came to light in the public when a magazine called Mother Jones, which is just sort of like a militant hippie magazine, wrote this article called Pinto Madness that discusses what was wrong with that article. Now, the article that was written by the Ford Motor Company was not really, Mother Jones took it a little out of context, and I'm not defending people who make cars that are exploding, but I'm just saying there's more context to it than is immediately obvious. But it's an interesting thought. And the biggest thing that I want you to think about when you're reading those articles is Ford really did a risk analysis on something that wasn't a risk at all. People dying in car accidents is a danger, and we do not analyze dangers using risk analysis. We analyze risks using risk analysis. Dangers we minimize. And then on the other side of the spectrum are opportunities. Opportunities are not risk managed either, they're optimized. So when we start focusing our stuff, when we talk about risk, so nobody has to decide how much a human life is worth. Nobody has to decide if a Ford Pinto is a good or bad idea economically for the bottom line of Ford Motor Company. So, but it was a real interesting moment in time when some things kind of came together, and it was really before the information age, and so people were acting on, like finding a memo that was internal to a company at that time was a pretty big deal. So anyway, I think that would be kind of interesting. And then to sort of go to the other end of the spectrum, we talk about risk versus opportunity with this article. But all 4 of those reading assignments are pretty short. So I don't think it will take you a lot of time, but I hope they're interesting and give you a basis for talking about dangers, risks, and opportunities. Then this week, we won't really have a writing assignment outside of the discussion forum because I just want you to have a chance to get caught up. Now, I thought maybe some people would have to get caught up with the introductory paper, but you guys were all Johnny on the spot, so that's not a problem, but it'll give you a little bit of time to work on the reading and then to also do the quiz. So that's what I wanted to make sure to share with you guys tonight. Can you tell me what questions or observations or problems or insights you might have had at this point with what we're talking about? All right.
I think things are going pretty smoothly so far. So
I'm so happy to hear that. So it's really fun for me to get to teach you guys. This is really, it's a real treat. And so I have enjoyed it very much, and I hope to continue to enjoy it. And I hope that if things start to take a turn in a negative direction, or if I'm forgetting something, that you will constructively advise me, because I'm pretty good at changing course if people are nice to me. So, and I know you all will be. You're all polite, so it's not a problem. But once in a while, I've been teaching for 25 years, and I've only had 3 times in my career where students behaved in a way that I didn't appreciate what they had to say. So that's a pretty good record, because I've probably gotten hundreds, if not thousands of times where a student had an insight that helped me to develop my material a little better. So that's a relationship that I'd like to have with you guys. So if you think of something that needs to be done, or something that could be done differently, or you have different ideas, just please let me know, because we can incorporate those into the class. All right.
I have a question. Are we supposed to be at the end, like, have completely finished the book deep?
Right. You need to be finished enough. I think that if you read the discussion boards and you do the quiz, and you look at the discussion guide, which is, like I said, it's about 8 questions. If everything in there sort of rings a bell, you know, you're going to be okay. The book is really divided up into 2 really distinct parts, and then there's sort of an addendum at the end. So you don't have to like metabolize every single word. Everything's going to be open book. It's just more to give you, to infuse you with the background knowledge. It's not even really a knowledge. It's really just thinking about how you view risk and how other people view risk. You know, so that's more or less, I just kind of wanted to get us thinking about that idea. So if you feel like, I mean, I loved your paper. I thought it was really interesting, and I just thought, I mean, when I read your guys' papers, I was like, what an excellent group. I mean, you guys are just all over the place, and I think we're going to learn a lot from each other. But so I didn't see anything missing in what I was hoping to see. So, so yeah, just that. So that's kind of the way. But the other part is, like I said, the reading assignment the last 2 weeks has been quite long. The reading assignment this week is quite a bit shorter. So it's like just, well, I don't want to estimate, but it's not nearly as many pages as you've been reading the last 2 weeks. So, all right. Any other questions or comments? Anything you'd like to bring up, talk about? Okay. Well, like I said, I always try to keep everything, like I try to do the content on those recorded lectures, because, you know, when you can't come to class in Zoom, I don't want to make this like where the stuff happens. I want to make it happen the rest of the week so that everybody has the same experience. But I appreciate all of you being here. And then the other thing is, once again, nobody is obligated, but next Monday, I will be in the Math and Science building in room 120 for our Zoom time. So I'll Zoom like this, but if anybody's there, I'll look forward to seeing you face to face. So there you go. All right, I'm going to stop my recording here just a second.